All right, a lot of you are kind of mad at me. Like, where you been, Johnny Walker Dread? You're supposed to be all about Kyle Rittenhouse. Well, actually, I have a job, so I'm not all about Kyle Rittenhouse. I do spend a lot of time covering his trial, though. But it's really difficult. I mean, I get off work, I come home, I'm tired, and I have to watch all the footage. But that takes hours and hours. And then I have to do a video of it, which involves not only the taping, but the large amounts of editing. So it's difficult. So I'm going to do the best I can. I did do a video last night of the Ryan Balch testimony. I haven't edited it yet. I'm going to post it up here before the end of the day. So for this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about Binger's strategy and so far how things are working out for him. And the short answer is not very well. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With his powerful brainwaves cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnnie Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's the Johnnie Walker Dread Show.
Now, I haven't been able to watch any of today's proceedings. I'm assuming that nothing real major has happened here. And the reason why I assume that is because Binger was relying on two people in particular to help him. Ryan Balch, Richie McGinnis. What is Binger's strategy? He's not trying Kyle on the law. Binger knows that that's a hopeless case. The whole thing about provocation and the fact that Kyle retreated is going to sink Binger. He knows that. What he is trying to do is he's trying to get the jury to convict Kyle on what the jury thinks the law should be. Never mind this whole thing about fleeing the scene, retreating in good faith, whatever. Do you think that Kyle belonged there? Do you think that his presence irritated people? Would you allow your own son to do this kind of thing? He's trying to get the jury to buy into that kind of argument. And unfortunately, I don't think the defense has been very good at kind of narrowing down the scope of the trial onto the law. But then again, I'm not a lawyer. I can't judge them too much. But why Richie McGinnis and Ryan Balch? Here's why. We have Kyle on video for almost all of the night. Also, Richie McGinnis and Ryan Balch are with him most of the night. If you include the time on video plus the time with Ryan and plus the time with Richie McGinnis, there really isn't much of a window for Kyle to have done much of anything wrong. And so he's got to turn one of those witnesses around and be able to make a claim that Kyle did something that would have caused any normal person to attack him. Therefore, then you hold him blameless in what happened. Again, he's trying the jury on what the jury thinks the law should be. So he needs one of those two witnesses to come forward and help him out. And unfortunately, neither one of them did much for him. Ryan Balch especially submarined his strategy. He was really hoping that Ryan would regale the jury with lots of tales of Kyle's irresponsibility. Yes, Kyle lied to him about his age and his EMT training, but I think that Binger knows that alone that's not going to quite do the trick. He needs Kyle to be reckless, irresponsible, totally immature. And unfortunately for him, Ryan didn't really give him anything. To Ryan Balch's credit, he's not going out on a limb to defend Kyle. You didn't catch any instances where Ryan is clearly trying to just downplay something for Kyle's benefit. And there's a reason why. Ryan is not a pro-Kyle person. Ryan Balch has said in testimony on video, or during interviews at least, that Kyle was probably in a lot of trouble for what he did. Of course, Ryan Balch is not necessarily an expert in self-defense. So he has a misunderstanding of what the self-defense laws are. But he has said it to people that he thought that Kyle was in trouble. He also made claims that he wasn't particularly happy with Kyle and the fact that Kyle lied to him. That makes Ryan Balch a very credible witness. He's not the kind of person who's going to go out of his way to defend Kyle by lying for him. Contrast that with Josh Zeminski. The fact that Ryan Balch is also a former Army person just reinforces the idea, not necessarily a correct one, but the idea that he's a salt of the earth, down home boy, likely to take the stand and say correct, true things. And so Binger tried hard to get Ryan to come forward with ideas of Kyle's recklessness. Binger has interviewed Ryan Balch before, and you never want to put anybody on the stand who isn't going to say what you know he's going to say. That's the cardinal rule. If you're going to ask a question, you better know what the answer is before you ask it. And so Binger asked him questions that he thought that Ryan Balch would respond in a certain way based on interviews he had probably in his private office. But unfortunately for Binger, Ryan Balch's responses, I don't think, matched what Binger thought was coming. And I think the reason why is in the privacy of an office, you can sort of kowtow somebody to go along with what you want them to say. You can work with them. There's nobody there to object, right? There's no defense attorney to object with your manipulations. And so you can work them, and then you can get them to say certain things, and then you can bank on that when they go onto the stand and ask them these questions, and you get the responses back that are really juicy that you know are going to sway the jury. But what happens is that after the person leaves the office, he begins to think about it a little bit more. Yeah, I told Binger that Kyle did such and such, but that's not really what happened, and I can put this kid away for life for 60 years based on what I just said. I don't want to do that. So what happens, you go on the stand and you change your story. And I don't mean really changing it so much, but all of the nice juicy terms and the kind of connotations that you used in the office to make him look guilty melt away. And what you're left with is something far more innocuous. And that's what happened to Binger. And I have a feeling that's what happened to him with McGinnis as well. Notice the discussion about falling versus lunging. I would not doubt for a moment that in the privacy of Binger's office, McGinnis kind of went along with his whole idea of using the word falling. In the office, McGinnis is not going to be that concerned about things like perjury and things like that. He's going to say things that makes the prosecutor feel good. And again, prosecutors are good at what? Pulling things out of people that may not be totally true, but can help convict them. On the stand, though, McGinnis changed his tone. And all of a sudden, the word falling that Binger was counting on turned into lunging. Binger jumped all over it. Falling. That's, and in his mind, he's thinking, that's what you told me in the office. It was falling. But McGinnis wouldn't budge. And he even got to the point where he was almost, I think, angry at Binger for trying to put words in his mouth. And if you remember, at one point, he even said, whatever it was that you heard on my video testimonies or whatever before, I'm on the stand now. This is my story. I'm paraphrasing. I mean, in fact, it's a very loose paraphrase, but that's essentially what he is saying. Never mind what I told Tucker Carlson. Never mind what I told these others. Those were during live interviews. I don't have the time to think about the proper wording and stuff like that. I've had plenty of time to think about it now, and I'm going to be damned careful about what I'm going to say. My words are going to reflect the true reality of it. It was lunging, not falling. Don't try to get me to change my story. Binger tried. The defense woke up, stepped in there and said, hey, he's already answered the question. Question answer. It's an objection, right? You can't just keep asking a witness a question over and over again, hoping that they'll change their answer so you can jump all over. It's not allowed. It's done a lot on television. It's not allowed in a real courtroom. And so the judge basically put an end to it. And with that, Binger's hopes of turning McGinnis around pretty much ended. You will also notice that Binger tried to interrogate his own witness. Richie McGinnis was Binger's witness. He's supposed to be up there telling things that the prosecution likes to hear. You shouldn't be interrogating your own witness. And by interrogating, I mean trying to undermine their credibility. But he tried. And where was that coming from? If you recall, towards the very end, he was asking McGinnis Can you point out these other people that were running towards Kyle? He thought he caught McGinnis in a lie, and he was hoping that McGinnis would say, yeah, I can't. Oh, I see. So your story that you just told us about what you saw is a fabrication. I mean, that's what the implication of that is. McGinnis extricated himself from it. I'm not even sure how he did it, but he did. And it left Binger with really nothing at that point. And with that, you have to turn to Ryan Balch. Now, what was Binger trying to do with Ryan? Ryan Balch hung out with Kyle all night long. Kyle lied to him about his age and being an EMT. And Binger was really hoping to make a lot of hay out of that. But I don't know what happened. But after Balch said, yeah, he told me he was 19, Binger seemed to kind of step away from it. Maybe he sensed that this age thing is just not going to work. I don't know. It could be Ryan Balch's very matter-of-fact, rapid-fire responses to the questions. It was so terse that I think it caught the prosecutor off guard. For example, he asked Ryan Balch, you were there after curfew? Yeah. And the way that Ryan Balch answered the questions was, yeah, and what are you going to make of it? Huh? And at that point, I think that Binger sort of just backed away from it. Then there was the story about Rosenbaum threatening to kill Kyle. And Binger, for unknown reasons, didn't go in and try to really undermine that story at all. I was expecting it. After Ryan Balch said, yeah, he threatened to kill us. Binger tried by saying, well, did he just threaten you? But Ryan Balch said, no. Kyle was there. He obviously met Kyle too. And he was so strong and terse about it, I don't think Binger could go any further with it. I think that Binger was hoping that there would be a little bit of hesitation on Ryan Balch's side so he could push through that and then convince Ryan Balch that, well, maybe Rosenbaum was just threatening you and not Kyle. Ryan Balch would have nothing of that. He basically said, well, he was standing right there. Of course, and he said, by the way, you guys, plural, so obviously he was aiming at more than just Ryan Balch. And so with that strategy fizzled out too. One of the other things that I found surprising was that Ryan Balch's past social media history didn't surface. Ryan Balch has a weird kind of a political stance that seems to vary all over the place. At one point, he was practically a Boogaloo boy, or at least he could be implied to be a Boogaloo boy. The whole Southern Poverty Law Center, they did a spread on this. And by the way, one of my videos targeted their little techniques for propaganda. There is very little to affirm that Ryan Balch has any real reputation with these groups. But the Southern Poverty Law Center made a mountain out of a molehill and essentially made him one. So most people think of Ryan Balch as like a patriot now. But his political affiliations are rather mysterious. In my opinion, he's just a hardcore libertarian. Neither right, neither left. He doesn't like government. He doesn't like the police especially. And so he's been labeled all kinds of things. And his past social media history is kind of strange, and it can be considered fodder for anybody trying to undermine his credibility. At one point, Ryan Balch said that he posed as a Boogaloo boy to simply infiltrate their organization, which is kind of hard to believe. That just sounds like, yeah, sure. So I figured that Binger was going to go all over that. Remember, Ryan Balch is Binger's witness. So interrogating your own witness, you normally don't do that. But Ryan Balch at this point is really making some claims here that's hurting the hell out of your case. Remember, the defense has Ryan Balch as a witness, but they don't have to call him. So here was the opportunity for Binger to sabotage Balch's testimony, but he didn't do anything. The whole social media deal never even saw the light of day. So what do we have left? Well, without Ryan Balch and Richie McGinnis on his side, I'm not sure what the prosecution could do here. There's one more thing that the prosecutor needed Richie McGinnis for, and that was to put a little context behind the FBI drone footage. I have no doubt that the FBI contacted Binger and said, hey, we got some drone footage, and Binger probably got pretty excited. And he led himself to believe that this drone footage was something that was going to turn the wheels around on Kyle Rittenhouse. But unfortunately, it didn't work. When the footage came out, people pointed out immediately that, wait, this doesn't show what Binger was saying at all. And in fact, this seems to exonerate Kyle Rittenhouse. He clearly wasn't chasing Rosenbaum. I mean, if he was, why didn't he go straight after Rosenbaum? Why did he continue going down the street? That made no sense. The more likely explanation was he was running after something else and probably a car fire. Rosenbaum just happened to be running in the same direction. It's also clear in the FBI drone footage that Rosenbaum circled in behind Kyle and ambushed him. There's little doubt about it. And so Binger has a problem. His own evidence seems to contradict his claim. And so he's kind of hoping that Richie McGinnis would step in there and provide some context like, yeah, Kyle was chasing after Rosenbaum for some reason. But McGinnis was no help at all. He was too far away. It was too dark. He couldn't tell. And so with that was Binger's last shot. Now, in what kind of shape is Binger? Well, I mean, if you think of it logically, he's in really bad shape. He's got nothing. His two primary witnesses kind of left him adrift. And all he has left are some of these kind of odd little nooks and crannies. Speaking of that, the video footage of Ryan Balch, in the end, during the testimony, after Ryan Balch has left the scene of the shootings and Kyle has walked off towards the police, he continues questioning him about the events. It was so bad that even the defense, which had been sleeping for the most part, woke up and said, oh, come on. Like, are we going to go through another 45 minutes of listening to you ask him about all these details when we are here to examine the guilt of the accused? But the shootings are over. The accused has walked away. Ryan Balch, the person on the stand, has left the scene. What could you possibly uncover at this point that would point to the guilt or the innocence of the accused? And all it was a lead up to him trying to destroy the credibility of his own witness with respect to him lying to reporters about his name. I can't imagine any jurors looking at that and saying, well, I guess we shouldn't believe anything he said because he told that reporter his name was something else. Because Ryan Balch basically said, hey, didn't want these people to know who I was. There's been a shooting. I don't want to get involved in this. Perfectly legitimate explanation. I think there was another reason, and this is where it got kind of funny. I think that Binger wanted to show another video. And the defense objecting and the judge basically going like, oh, jeez. I think convinced Binger that that's pushing it a little much. So which video was he wanting to show, but he just didn't want to anger the judge and the defense anymore, and the jury? And I think it was the Yellow Pants video. I think for some reason he was wanting to show that again and basically backed out when the criticisms got too high. The whole video thing with Jason. Where's Jason at? Can you point to Jason in this video? Nobody cares if Ryan Balch can find Jason. Of what possible relevance is that to Kyle's guilt or innocence? He was using it as an excuse so he could show the videos again. He just wants to play the videos over and over in front of the jury. Never minding the fact that the jury has probably seen those videos already 1,000 times before they even got to the courthouse. So, desperation? Yeah. So we'll see how it unfolds. Like my video, subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned. I do have a good video going on tonight about Ryan Balch and his testimony. And this weekend, I'll push out a whole bunch of stuff.